So, the topic of my talk today is how to make a personal statement with your jewelry. You know how they say that you cannot choose your parents, but you can choose your friends. So, apply the same logic with a little twist to clothes and jewelry. Clothes is a basic need and then it becomes a fashion statement, but it starts from a need. You can't walk around naked, at least not all the time, everywhere. But jewelry is not a need at all. It's a complete choice and it's complete and 100% ornamentation. So there are plenty of people who don't wear jewelry at all, and that is a statement in itself. But for those of us, and we are in the majority, who like to wear jewelry, we make a choice every time we wear a jewelry. How do you see jewelry? Is jewelry a business for you? Is it just a way of parking your money in precious metals and precious gemstones? And then instead of storing them away in a locker, these are the things that you can wear and you can flaunt your wealth at public occasions, in weddings, at parties. And that's completely all right because that's the most popular and practical way of looking at jewelry. But there are other ways also to look at jewelry. The second way is that it is a memory or it's an emotion. Like the first pair of diamond earrings that you bought with your first salary or your wedding ring. Apparently, there are divorce rings also these days. So when you get divorced, you have the memory of your divorce in a ring. Another way that you can look at jewelry is making a personal statement with your jewelry. What do you say with your jewelry? What personal statement do you make with your jewelry? I'll give you a few examples. Let's say you wear tribal jewelry, and maybe that is your way of supporting or championing local sustainable arts. Or let's imagine you are Lata Mangeshkar, God bless her soul, well into her 80s, a simple woman, a great artist who dresses in plain white silk or cotton saris, but she makes a massive power statement with those typical diamond cluster earrings that she used to wear. That is a huge power statement. Or you could be a Ranveer Singh who wears pearl necklaces. Or you could be a Harry Styles or let's say a Brooklyn Beckham who wears gold and diamonds on a daily basis, and you're making a statement about gender fluidity there. So just like it takes several years, often decades, for you to discover your personal style when it comes to your clothing, the same applies to jewelry. You take several decades and several years to figure out what really works for you, what looks good on you, and especially and most important, what you like personally. If you ask me as a writer, what's the most important thing about writing? I would say the most important thing is editing. To cut out all the stuff that is not working and to keep the core of what you're trying to say or what you're trying to express. And that holds the same for jewelry. Often when people talk about personalizing jewelry, which is very common in the trade and amongst consumers, you talk about basics like your name carved in a chain or laser engravings. I personally love laser engravings that you commemorate important events or persons in your life by engraving them on your rings or the personal jewelry that you wear. But there are other ways to personalize your jewelry. There are some elements that I'm going to list out that can help you personalize your jewelry. The first element is design. Do you like minimalist design? Do you like flamboyant design? Do you like straight, stark lines? Do you like feminine curves? Do you like masculinity? Do you like androgyny? That's design. The second is a favorite of mine. It's material. I haven't done it, but I would love to experiment, and I'm going to do that. Experiment with wood, as well as precious stones and metals in a single piece of jewelry. I also love titanium in jewelry, which has a wonderful versatility and is extremely lightweight. Then there is again one of my absolute favorites, which is kinetic jewelry. You know, you go to Europe and there are these vintage Chanel or Dior pieces or just stuff that you find in vintage stores. You have little drawers and pendants that open out, and there are bejeweled diamond fans that open out. Again, there are animal motifs. You have beetles with ruby eyes. At our studio, we have a rendition of one of my favorite jewelry pieces of all time. It's from the collection of Salvador Dali, who was a famous surrealist master, and his jewelry collection is absolutely crazy. So the stuff that we have at our studio is a pair of his famous telephone earrings. That's one of the most wearable from his collection. The rest are not wearable. The original was in rubies and diamonds. In our version, we have added rose quartz and we have added amethyst. So that is again one of my favorite elements to make a personal style, is having kinetic jewelry. The fourth is craftsmanship, because Indian hand craftsmanship is becoming so rare. If you have a Indian handcrafted jewel, that is an heirloom in itself. And the last point is my pet topic is gemstones. You can really, really personalize your jewelry and make a personal statement using colored precious gemstones. Now, the first thing that you probably think about when I speak of gemstones is astrology, because that connection is very organic. Unfortunately, we have reduced this wonderful world of massive knowledge of gemology and astrology to remedial gemstones. It's like giving out pills. Here, take this pill to have kids. Here, take this pill to get married. Here, take this pill to do well in your business. But there is so much more to astrology. And funnily enough, I was talking to a digital marketer the other day, and she was saying that astrology is so much like data analytics or data science, which is very interesting and which is a very smart point, because in Vedic astrology or in the Indian system of astrology, typically our astrologers were scholars. They were polymaths who were masters in a multitude of subjects. When it comes to mathematicians who were also astrologers, of course, most of you or many of you would know about Shakuntala Devi, famously a mathematician who was a very good astrologer. But way before her, in the 6th century, during the Gupta period, which was the zenith of art, culture, and science in India, there was a scholar, Varaha Mihira. You could just call him Mihira because Varaha was his title. So Varaha Mihira was essentially a mathematician. He was an astronomer and he was an astrologer. It is alleged that he was one of the 9 gems in the court of Vikramaditya Chandragupta II. And one of his most famous works was called the Panch Siddhantika, which was a compilation of Egyptian, Roman, Indian, and Greek astronomy. One of his other famous works was even more extensive. It was called the Brihat Samhita. It was an exhaustive study of astrology, astronomy, mathematics, rainfall, cloud formations, architecture, temples, gemology, and of all the things, fragrances. So imagine the depth and the width of knowledge that this person had, and how fascinating it must be that all these subjects could possibly be interconnected. So imagine going to this great ancient Indian scholar and saying, Pandit ji, please see my patrika, when will I get married and what gemstone will I wear? So it's really important that we look at the connection between astrology and gemology in a very wide scope and not narrow it down to remedial pills. So this is all fine for Varaha Mihira, who was a great scholar and a polymath. By the way, he spoke Greek and Sanskrit fluently. All fine for him, but what about us lay people? I cannot count on my hands the number of times every time I meet somebody and they ask, do gemstones work? So if you want to solve this issue or this debate yourself, there is an interesting way of looking at it as a layperson. I look at it as a gemologist who is interested in astrology, but astrology is not my business. It is a field of knowledge for me. So a good way of looking at it is using gemstones as symbols of planets and their movements that are way more complex than our understanding of them. I'm going to give you a quick example of one of my favorite gemstones, which is the gorgeous blue sapphire. Blue sapphire, everybody would know across the world, is linked with the planet Saturn, which is the planet of karma, hard work, limitations, as well as success. But is it only astrology? There's so much more to this beautiful gemstone than just an astrological reference. For example, you're in the market for a blue sapphire. Where does your blue sapphire come from? What is the genealogy of the blue sapphire? Does it come from Madagascar? Or does it come from Sri Lanka, which produce beautiful sapphires? Or is it the finest of them all? Does it come from the Zanskar Valley in Kashmir, which produces the most true blue? It's supposed to be one of the truest blue colors without any purple or violet undertones. And it has rutile needles, which are titanium oxide, which disperse the light equally throughout the stones, making Zanskar or Kashmiri sapphires one of the best investment pieces or most high-value investment pieces in gemstone jewelry to date. Maybe you don't like the color blue. Do you like the color pink? You might be in a treat for some of the rarest pink diamonds in the world, and these are from the Argyle mine in Western Australia, which closed down at the end of 2020, leaving behind only 70 rare pink diamonds, which were, of course, by then incredibly in demand and of very high value. Do you know the reason why? Because Ben Affleck gifted a pink diamond ring to J-Lo during their first engagement, which was in the year 2002. Of course, that broke up. And now he's gone, and now that they are re-engaged and married, he has gifted her something even more rarer, which is a green diamond, which is the second most rarest colored diamond after red diamonds. So a combination of pop culture, of the geography, of the lineage of the gemstone, and of course astrology combines towards giving an intangible value to the gemstone, which is more than just the tangible value which any gemologist can calculate for you. So I'm going to leave you with a small checklist for when you are investing in gemstones so that you can make a personal statements with your choice of gemstones. The first is always trust your instinct. If I lay out the top 5 precious gemstones in front of you, you are going to instinctively like some, and you might admire the rest, but your heart, your mind won't be drawn towards it. Always trust that instinct. Let's say your gemologist tells you, listen, this is not as much valuable as the other one, which has, let's say it's an emerald, it has a brighter saturation, and the one that your heart is going out to is a slightly lightly colored emerald. Trust your instinct, go with your instinct. The second is brave. Make brave choices. If you've always been wearing rubies, diamonds, emeralds, go for other precious stones like tanzanites, rhodolites, and one of my favorites, alexandrites. The third is please experiment with cuts. I cannot stress it enough. I want to see more couples who have these very chic baguette diamond ring instead of the usual round brilliant. So always experiment with cuts. And lastly, if you're going to spend big money, make sure that big money has a big story behind it. Hopefully that big story is responsibly and sustainably mined gemstones, just like Muzo emeralds from Colombia, or Brazilian citrine, or amethysts that are artisanally mined in a small town in Mexico called Piedra Prada. So have fun with your gemstones. Have fun with the journey of choosing your gemstones, investing your gemstones. Don't be so serious about it. Lighten up, have fun with it, and enjoy this journey of gemstones and of making a personal statement with your jewelry. I would like to thank DLC for giving me this opportunity and reaching out to a wider audience. Thank you so much.